Welcome to the Kingdom of Wonder podcast. My name is Gabriel. I'm your host. And if you are new to this channel, this is a podcast that looks at the arts, culture, and people of Phnom Penh and the Kingdom of Cambodia. I've got a very special guest with us today. It's my friend, Sam Thomas. And Sam, tell us where you're from.
I am from a magical place called Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
In the United States of America.
That is where he's from.
Yeah.
And I have Sam on the cast today because Sam is a stand-up comedian. And full confession, I guess I should say, I am one too. I haven't said anything funny on the podcast yet, but it might just happen tonight. So here we are.
Wow.
Thanks for doing the interview.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, so why don't we just start with something easy, obvious, like how did you get into stand-up comedy?
Okay. The way I got into stand-up comedy is I was at university. A lot of my friends told me that they thought I was funny and that I should do stand-up comedy. And I was kind of like, yeah, I don't need stand-up comedy to validate how funny I am, right? But it was also that I didn't want to go into that arena, like put myself up for comparison with these other comedians.
Yeah.
I was daunted by that. I had never been to an amateur, I don't think I'd ever seen live comedy until I was involved with live comedy.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I am not going to turn up to a show and pay money, it's tantamount to saying like, I'm not funny, so I need to pay you to make me laugh, right? That's what I thought it was. But then one day I said something funny on the bus back from a rugby game, and my rugby teammates were like, "Oh, Sam, you're really funny. You should do stand-up." And I was like, "Oh, you guys think so? I won't let you down." Like,
You took it as a mission.
I was like, "You're my brothers in arms. We tackle people. We all wear the same shirt. So, your wish is my command." I did it. And I remember I just reported back to him. I was like, "Hey, you guys told me to do stand-up, and I did it." Like, I didn't expect him to go to the show or anything. Mm-hmm. Just doing what my rugby brethren wanted. I felt like, yeah, mission accomplished. I did it. So I did stand-up in, we weren't not a registered club on my campus at that time. So we did our shows we couldn't book like a performance space on campus. So we just went in the basement next to a laundry room. We just like stole chairs from the common room and brought them down there. And we had like a mic and a guitar amp and a chair. And we liked it. We felt really legit because we did have a brick wall behind us. We were like, that's a stand-up comedy thing, right? And I think actually, knowing what I know now, I think it was a good thing that we were in a basement because that's a kill box,
yeah.
Right? That gets the laughter to reverberate. If we had actually booked a venue, we would have been in like a high-ceilinged lecture hall or black box theater or something, which swallows the sound.
Yeah.
So we just got a bunch of drunk freshmen, friends of ours down there, and it was a magical night. First time I did stand-up. I felt that it went really well. I'm sure that if I were to listen back to the audio, I would probably cringe. Mm-hmm. But I was hooked immediately. It was one of those things that I tried it, and it worked. Yeah. People laughed, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." And the rest is history.
Yeah. Now, how did you find yourself in Cambodia?
I found myself in Cambodia because my brother moved out here in 2011. He followed a girl who was come to work in development. She came to work in water and sanitation hygiene, and he wanted to work as a businessman, and so he followed her. They were together. Like, she knew about it and everything. Wasn't like some intercontinental stalking.
All right.
She consented to him.
There's some level of consent. Yeah, okay. We're not going to feel that.
Invited, I may even say. No, not gonna incriminate my. This is a sneaky deposition right here.
Yeah.
No, podcast. So he moved out here, and then he knew that I wanted to teach English overseas somewhere, and he told me, "Oh, Sam, like Cambodia is a great place. They're always looking for English teachers, so you should come out here." So basically, my brother sent for me from the old country, and I straight up emigrated. I had never been to this country before. I packed my bags, got on a plane, and I was meant to be out here for 6 months. I was like, okay, 6 months of experience in Cambodia, and then I'll just be able to go to Paris and be like, hey, I've taught in one of your colonies.
That should impress them.
Maybe there's an école next to the Eiffel Tower, at which you would like me to instruct people in how to speak the language Anglais. But I ended up just falling in love with Cambodia, and to be slightly more honest, completely lost track of time.
Yeah.
That's like there is romance. I love this place.
Yeah.
But it may not be quite as romantic as I always make it sound. It's also that there are no seasons and the local people don't age.
Yeah. The years do melt away in Southeast Asia. I can
years melt
attest to
away.
that, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Robin Williams and Jumanji out here, just like.
All right, that's a good vision.
Yeah.
And so, what was the state of comedy when you got here? What was that like?
When I got here, there had been comedy. I think the first show was in 2012. I was unaware of it. I hadn't heard about it at that time. But then in 2013, Aidan Killian came out here. And he came to visit a friend of his who lived not far from where we are right now. But he decided while he was in town, he wanted to teach a comedy crash course. Mm-hmm. And he was going to teach this comedy crash course and then raise money for Operation Smile. Mm-hmm. So I heard about it through my brother. And he was like, oh, this guy's teaching a comedy course. Maybe you want to get involved with that. And I was like, I don't really need a course. I'd probably done stand-up maybe 5 to 7, less than 10 times at that point. Yeah. Right. But I had never ceased to think of myself as a stand-up comedian. Like that was, like when I did my certificate in English language teaching to adults, like one of the fun facts I gave about myself was like, oh, I like to do stand-up comedy after having done it 3-4 times. Yeah. Because I always felt like, oh yes, this is me. Went and did this course. It was really helpful. It's a really cool way to look at comedy. Aidan Killian is really good at. He's really insistent upon talking about things you care about, talking about things that you're passionate about, and letting the emotion show in your comedy. Yeah. Having that emotional connection to what you're saying. Saying things with impact like that. So I thought that was really beautiful. And I did that. I did that crash course. We did our graduation show at Pontoon, which is a nightclub here. Yeah. Which everybody kind of goes, oh, when they hear about that. We did graduation at Pontoon, and then that was kind of where the scene grew here. Like we'd brought out international headliners before, but that was when people living in Phnom Penh started doing comedy. Gotcha.
And it's interesting because actually I got into comedy in a similar scenario. It was in Saigon, and there was a guy there, and I'm not going to say his name, but he was doing solo shows, and he just sucked so bad, it was awful. And I just kept going because I hoped that he would get better, you know, and it just got so rough. I mean, there were times where I literally had to leave. It was just that bad. I was like, I'm not going to be here for this. But then this guy started reading books. He started checking out podcasts and actually doing his homework. And he started to actually, his comedy got really good. And we all noticed. And he just wanted more stage time and knew that the only way to go about doing that was to start a scene and have other people performing. And so he started doing workshops, and that was how I got involved in comedy in Saigon.
Wow.
Yeah. Which brings me to my next topic. There is a similar course, a comedy course that is available here in Phnom Penh.
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about Page to Stage?
Yeah, I feel a little bit sheepish about it. I do. I still feel a little bit sheepish about it. Because we were so resistant to starting a course. Like what we were doing, other scenes, I'm going to give you a really circuitous answer to this, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Or do you want me to cut to the chase?
Go hog wild.
So, other scenes, like most comedy scenes, you get good by doing comedy.
Yeah.
And that is what I believe. I don't know if this is an original Lex Morales quote, but I'm going to attribute it to him. He says, "The stage is the best teacher." That's very true. I don't know whose quote this is, but it's said that learning stand-up comedy is like learning to play a musical instrument that you can only practice in a public place. So it's sort of like the bagpipes, but even less pleasant to listen to, and definitely not welcome at a policeman's funeral, as I've found out. But in most scenes you can rely on that. Most scenes, like it's established. Even if they're just dingy open mics in basements, even if you have to pay to get on or bring a certain number of people to get on, there's stage time available.
So you were thinking, I don't need to teach any kind of comedy course.
Yeah, I was just like, it's fine. We got basements. I'll just charge them money to do my show.
Right.
No. So in order to substitute for the stage, what we had to do was just workshop. Like we would each write a brand new set every month, because we could do comedy about once a month, and it would be to the same people every time. So it had to be fresh, and you would write all month. And then you would only have that one data point, and it would be gone forever. So you'd never be like, you would just be like, I was always like, oh, I guess the jokes I wrote weren't good. I would never be like, oh, was there something in my delivery? There was a time when I got to a punchline, and somebody slammed a cooler, and nobody heard the punchline. And I didn't have the presence of mind to be like, I'll just say that again. I was just like, oh, the moment's gone.
Right, that's
like,
it.
Damn it, see you next month, I guess. So we were always writing together. We were always workshopping together. And in order to always be fresh, because we have a very small pool of expats that we're trying to do our jokes for, right? We're doing that for a long time. We really wanted to grow the scene. We wanted more stage time. Steve O'Joslin was a comedian out here for a number of years. He was instrumental he started Comedic Stylings, which is our sort of flagship showcase. He started open mics in other parts of the city. We had one going in Tultumpong. And we did grow it a little bit but actually for a good 18 months to 2 years, he and I we were the comedy scene.
Right.
And it was going pretty well.
Yeah.
But it would be like we'd flip a coin and be like, okay, you MC and I'll headline, and then Next week,
Vice
we'll switch. That was it. When I traveled, I would be like, "Oh yeah, we have a bit of a comedy scene in Phnom Penh. You're looking at half of it." Like that was accurate. Like it started as a joke, but it really.
So what was it that actually pulled you over the line and made you think, okay, yeah, we're going to be doing, we'll start doing these workshops?
I guess it was JB. I guess it was another guy on the comedy scene. Somehow we convinced ourselves. I really didn't want to do it because I thought, man, if I start teaching a comedy course, that means that I think I'm a great comedian, right? I was like, how arrogant is that?
Yeah.
And my nightmare was, I'm going to teach this comedy course, and then I'm going to bomb in front of my students, and they're going to go, I never should have listened to this guy. Yeah. And like the worst, man, I did this show. It was comedic stylings. 2021, right? We were just starting to do events after COVID. We decided to try and do an open mic on a Tuesday night. We were expecting to have maybe 5 sweaty comedians in the audience staring at their notes.
Yeah.
We thought that's what we were going to get. Instead, we were like the first ones to put on an event post-COVID. So even though it was Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m., we had a packed house.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. People love comedy now. And so people were asking me like, oh, when's the next gig? And I was like, oh, I think we're going to be doing comedic stylings on February 19th. And we hadn't actually confirmed that date, but February 19th is my birthday. So I was like, this is going to be sick. Like, I always do comedy on my birthday, whether it be at an open mic or a music open mic or whatever. Or I did it on Zoom in 2020. So we arranged that, and I was thinking, man, if this open mic was packed to the rafters, like an actual showcase is going to be even more amazing.
You're right.
And we had 8 people turn up for it.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, right?
It's hard to tell. It turned out there were like all the events started back up in the meantime. So we were competing against all this different live music and parties and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was there wearing my tailored 3-piece suit to do my like, oh, it's my birthday suit joke. JB was vlogging the comedy course. He was saying like, yeah, come sign up for the comedy course. It's
Be funny
be
like
great.
Sam, right?
Oh, it was before. This is before I even got up, right?
Okay.
So JB goes out to MC, and the crowd just it was 8 people who just weren't having it. They just weren't interested. So JB's like, yeah, we got this comedy course, and it's gonna be great. And come do the comedy course. And here comes the headliner. It's Sam Thomas. And I come out and just bomb. And there's like a silent moment, and this woman in the audience goes, "Are you the one teaching the comedy course?" Like I didn't have a rebuttal or anything. I was just like,
it's a miracle that you ever made it to do it, right? Like
it's a miracle that I ever did comedy again. That's the other thing is in comedies, we say you're only as good as your last show.
Yeah.
And the next day was what we had what we called the February 20th incident, wherein somebody brought some sex workers to Cambodia who bribed their way out of quarantine and infected a bunch of people.
Oh yeah.
With COVID, which I was furious. I was like, why are you bringing sex workers to Cambodia? I was like, we have food at home, man. Like
It was. You did not have to cross the border.
It was COVID. It was COVID, man. All the sex workers here were twiddling their thumbs. They were being like, man, maybe I should just be an English teacher. They're going, no, don't stoop that low.
Don't talk that way.
Don't talk like that.
Okay, so you got these courses going.
Oh yeah, wait, sorry. So that meant that, so because everybody got COVID after that, my last show was that, are you the one teaching the comedy course? That was my last show for 8 months.
Yeah.
So for 8 months, that was the last show on my record.
Yeah.
Was that one. Yeah. So what I did was,
So you've had plenty of opportunities to quit comedy.
I had
basically, is what you're saying.
I'm addicted enough
Yeah.
that I've never seriously considered it.
Uh-huh.
When I think about it, it's more of like, I wonder if there's an alternate universe where I've never done stand-up comedy and I'm like rich and happy.
Instead of poor and getting up on stage and griping about it.
Yeah, everybody's like, wow, Sam Thomas is one of the funniest Supreme Court justices I've ever met.
All right. So you got these comedy courses going.
These comedy courses going.
And what happens in the course? Like, what can people expect?
People can expect to break down a lot of the barriers that stand between everybody and getting up on that stage. Because our philosophy is that there's at least 5 minutes of stand-up comedy inside every person. Everybody's got at least 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of taking that out, right? Getting that out. So a lot of what we concentrate on is the biggest barrier. What I see is the biggest barrier to people doing stand-up, which is just getting up on stage. So a lot of it is just confronting, like, how do you do that? How do you deal with performance anxiety? How do you actually mount that stage?
So that's something that everyone really struggles with, pretty much. I mean, coming into stand-up comedy, nobody really starts off comfortable with that, I think. You know, they're not used to it, that's for sure. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there are people who don't seem to struggle with those nerves. I will say that. I think everyone gets nervous. That's a big part of it, is not don't be nervous, but like accept that.
Right.
Accept that you're going to be nervous. Try to channel that nervous energy into your performance. Right. Before we even started teaching this course, I was telling people, like, it's okay to be nervous, but I believe in you. That's still kind of my philosophy. Just take the stigma away. People think, oh, I'm nervous. That means I'm underprepared. That means that I'm not going to do well because I'm going to be nervous up there. And they make it worse for themselves.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it. We get a little bit into the other thing with the course is we're mostly trying to give you tools to use or not use in stand-up. I really don't want the course to be like a paint by numbers. Really, I don't want to enforce my idea of what good comedy is onto other people.
Sure.
My dad is a newspaper editor, and he says that an inexperienced editor will try to make a writer sound like themselves. So that's something that I want to avoid. You know, somebody might want to take the course and then do like a really deadpan humor,
Right.
one-liners.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
I want them to know about the skills that are there at their disposal, but not push them in any given direction.
Yeah, you're not there to give them any dogma about one style of comedy or another, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's another thing is I try to make it clear that we're not trying to try to foist any values upon you. Just
How big are the classes?
we usually recruit about as many as 8. Given that people are busy.
Yeah.
We usually end up with about 6 who take the course.
Okay.
And
How long does it last?
we do it usually over the course of 2 weekends. So we do we've been doing it like one really long Saturday and sometimes a really long Sunday, or one really long Saturday and then a shorter Saturday the following weekend. In the meantime, and this is, I think, kind of the iceberg below the surface, is all the one-on-one workshopping that we do.
Yeah.
So we give a lot of support to people in writing their jokes
Right.
and just trying to figure out, okay, what is funny about this? What are you trying to say here? How can we make that more clear?
Right.
Which, again, is something that I think people don't tend to realize about stand-up. If it's done well, it often does look very extemporaneous. If it's done well, it looks so natural, so conversational, and so off the cuff.
Effortless. Yeah.
Effortless.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's a lot of sculpting going on behind the scenes, right?
There's a lot of work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work going into it, especially if you're new to the game. I think there's even more work, even more writing and revising. When I was first doing stand-up in Phnom Penh, I was doing so much work on the exposition because we were dealing with these international crowds. I didn't know what context everybody had. I don't know what context they needed, and I would my jokes were massively top heavy.
Right.
Where I would have to make sure that you knew about each facet of this joke.
Yeah. Do French people know what a weenie is? Or like.
Yeah. Weenie.
Weenie.
You mean like a yes knee?
The weenie. Yeah. Okay. Yes, we know these. And so, like, okay, well, what have the results been of doing this workshop?
The results have been that we've managed to massively grow our bench. I imagine all the comedians sitting in the dugout in old-timey
Baseball.
dead ball era baseball uniforms.
Yeah.
Handlebar mustaches. But it could be any bench. It's a bench.
Yeah.
We get you. Going too far with this metaphor. We've massively grown the number of people who have tried stand-up comedy and who have come back to try it some more. Some people turn up to do it on like sort of a bucket list vibe.
Right.
Like, I want to try it at some point.
Right.
I want to put that feather in my cap. Some people try it. They show up going, I want this bucket list, and then they go, oh wow, this is amazing.
Oh yeah, this hit's nice.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to do that again.
There's something about just having a room full of people you feel like a wizard up there.
Yeah.
Just when you say you move a room with your words.
Yeah.
And everybody makes this involuntary noise that means, like, that's great,
Yeah.
and we accept you. And in the reptilian core of your brain, you're like, yes, I won't starve. They accept me. Whereas if you bomb, I think that also, we don't talk about this as much. You might just want to cut this out of there.
Right. You're far more likely to get poked by sharp sticks. Yeah.
It feels that way. Man. I think part of it is also how you feel about bombing. I think you could probably play it off and be okay. But I've definitely bombed and found that everybody cut me 6-foot berth in a packed bar, pretended not to recognize me from earlier. Right. Because I am the physical embodiment of the cringe they felt at watching someone try and utterly fail at making them laugh.
That's tough for an audience.
That's tough.
Pretty stressful.
What do you do? what do you do? And then there's also a matter of like, do I go and say like, hey buddy, keep trying?
Okay,
Or are we?
but let me back it up here. Do you see your students? Do you let your students go up and bomb for their graduation show? And
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So anyway, so I need to get a drink. We'll just.
yeah, a word from our sponsors now. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Phnom Penh, are you hungry? You don't even have to chase down and butcher a chicken. You can just order it online using your phone. Chef Rex is here to save the day. They deliver the tastiest chicken sandwiches this side of the Mekong. Whether it's chicken sandwiches, wings, or chicken poppers, Chef Rex has got you covered. Now available on Nyam 24. Order tonight. We're back.
We're back. Welcome back. Good to be back. So yeah, as I was saying before we had those technical difficulties, it's such an amazing feeling when you connect with a room
Yeah.
and the laughter comes bubbling up out of your fellows, and you're just like, yeah, man, I'm the first caveman ever to tell a story around the fire, and they're captivated by it.
Yeah.
Right? Those genes got passed down, and it's great. And that's how you convert one of these bucket list people into a lifelong comedian.
Yeah.
That hits good.
It's encoded into the experience, and some people are just not going to be able to resist it. You know, that's true.
Some people, and you can never. I've never been able to predict who it's going to be. Sometimes you do see people working really hard, who seem really inclined towards it. But when we look at who's signed up for the course, and when we talk to them, I've never been able to predict like, oh yeah, this guy is gonna get really deeply involved in this, or this lady.
Yeah, you never know who it's going to be.
You never know who it's gonna be.
So when's the next time you think this course is going to be offered?
Well, we're looking at sort of a lull in international dates this summer. We don't have a lot of international comedians booked, and so I'm really hoping to run another course during this summer. I don't know if there's a mass exodus out of Phnom Penh. Sometimes foreigners are so spoiled at living in this climate that they'll only visit their homeland when it's summer in their homeland, so that they never have to experience cold again.
Right.
I'd really like to do it in this summer. And
well, where can people go so that they can find out about it when it is offered?
They can go to our Telegram channel, our Comedy in Cambodia Telegram channel. They can go to our Facebook page. They can send us a message on the Facebook page.
Yeah, like and follow. Please.
Like, follow.
Yeah.
The graduation shows, I think, are the most amazing shows that we do all year. That's like... That's a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Those are amazing.
They are.
Because everybody's there to watch their friend graduate, to watch them become a comedian.
Yeah.
It's such a big deal. You go in there, there's like such a buzz in the air. Before the show even starts, it's electric. They're like, oh man, what is our friend going to be like when they go up there? And it doesn't mean that they're... And they're so supportive of everyone who goes up, because the thing is, it's not only that your friend is doing it for their first time. You know that the whole roster is making their comedy debut that night.
That's right. Yeah.
So there's just this amazing, like, oh my gosh, like this excitement, this tension. Like,
and it is really exciting for us to see another comic come into the fold.
Too. Yeah. You described it as watching the Velociraptor hatch.
Yeah. Everyone wants to be there.
Everyone wants to be there.
Velociraptor hatches. Yeah.
And it's the culmination of all this hard work and all this effort, and we've all worked together on each other's jokes.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to see, like, you will have watched your classmates from the kernel of an idea to this beautiful magnum opus
Yeah.
that they've written, and
Their
you
5 minute set. Yeah.
you get to watch it unfurl, and you know what's coming, and you're like, how is this audience going to react to it?
Right.
And it's just you go home and your cheeks hurt from smiling and laughing so much.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that everybody has so much sympathy for you as a first-time comedian. They're like, oh, that must be so scary for them.
Right. Right.
So they're already giving you the benefit of the doubt. They're like, oh, if you're gonna suck, it's okay.
Yeah, everybody's pulling for you. Everybody's hoping that you do well. You know?
Hoping that you do well.
Yeah.
And it ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's the element that you can't replicate. This is why the stage has to teach you, is all of a sudden the audience is there. All of a sudden it's live fire training.
Yeah.
It's baptism by fire. That's what I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that adds so much to it that you could never imagine what that would feel like when you're just writing. You could never imagine how much the audience can electrify you.
That's a really good place to leave things, I think. So if you guys are interested in learning more about Page to Stage, go to Comedy in Cambodia Facebook page, like and follow them there. You can also find a Comedy in Cambodia Telegram channel. And if you enjoyed this interview, please go ahead and comment, like, share, and subscribe. And keep coming back for more. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much, Sam.